We are live. We are live. Welcome to college football's peek around the corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do us well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. Do not forget to ring the notification bell if you want to support this true independent national college football's rebel outpost with a donation to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Just hit that $sign where you make a comment and I will get you super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. I hope you all are having a very nice Friday, July 24th. I'm going to be honest with you. I am running on fumes. Very busy week. In the studio, outside of the studio, a lot of college football discussions going on. Ross Dellinger reports it's not dead yet. PCSA, the Protect the College Sports Act, isn't dead yet. In fact, I don't know. I don't know what all this means. There's a couple of items, very controversial items, in the Protect the College Sports Act. That Ross Dellinger is reporting that the negotiations going on between the Big Ten, the SEC, and Maria Cantwell and Ted Cruz are in a good space? Does it mean that a couple of the most controversial items in the bill is not holding up the bill anymore? The pooling of the media rights? Now that one probably has been defeated for quite a while. Any mandatory of the pooling of the media rights. But what about that other part in section Title 2? The restrictions on conference expansion. The latest report from Ross Dellinger, they've been negotiating around a number of 19. Is it still at 19? Did it go back to 20? Is there no cap at all? Ross Dellinger reported today that item is in a good space between the lawmakers and Sankey and Petiti. What in the hell does that mean? I can tell you, and I will tell you later in the monologue. Actually, it's going to start our monologue. What I've been told doesn't quite match. Well, I'm not saying that it doesn't match up with Ross Dellinger reporting, but I got a feeling that number 19 is not going to be in the revised formal written of the bill. That's what I'm being told. But according to Ross Dellinger, now he's not saying it directly. We'll get to it. We will get to it. In fact, we are going to start with that story. PCSA not dead yet, according to Ross Dellinger. There is still time. There is negotiations. There were negotiations going on late last night. So keep your head on a swivel. Keep your head on a swivel. During this live show, we might get breaking news. I mean, for God's sakes. Ladies and gentlemen, to get this thing voted on, they got to first see the language in the bill. The revised bill. We got to see the language. Sankey said it today. We haven't seen the language. We don't know what our position. We've got to see the final language. Are we going to see that today? It's 5:23 Eastern time. We could. So everybody keep your head on a swivel. We are going to start off with that. And then we are going to go through just quickly. We're not going to hardly spend any time on this. But tomorrow is Saturday, which I believe, according to my Minnesota math, I believe we are 5 Saturdays away from week 0. So today we are going to touch upon what are the current lines of the 7 week 0 games that we are going to be picking. And you know, I have guaranteed you Greg the Gold this year. 60% or higher winning percentage against the spread. That is a Greg the Gold 5-star lock. And it starts week 0. So we are going to quickly go through the 7 games, just so you all know what 7 games we're going to be doing in week 0. I don't want to hear any complaints. Oh, Greg, we did not have enough time here. The PATC Einsteins. When we vote on who we're going to take, we did not have enough time. Well, I'm giving you 5 weeks. I'm giving you 5 weeks for God's sakes. All right? Then we are going to go into the Holy Smokes Theater. Our true formal update in quite a bit of time. We did the popcorn line. We talked about we've had a few of this, a few of that, but we are actually going in to the Holy Smokes Theater. This time when you enter into the doors, you are not going to see any mascots on stage. You are not going to see any mascots sitting in the seats. You are not going to see Petiti. You're not going to see Sankey. You're not going to see a silo on stage. You're not going to see banners of Amazon or Netflix. You are going to see 2 banners hanging from the box seats inside the Holy Smokes Theater. One banner is going to list in different tiers the Big Ten candidate list. The other banner is going to list the SEC candidate list in different tiers. This is an accumulation of what we believe we know after talking to a whole lot of different people. And these different people have different information, different opinions. They're looking at it from different angles. There is somewhat of a consistent trend of information that leads us to this candidate list. It's not going to be dramatically different than what you have seen before. I'm not saying that things are signed, sealed, and delivered. I do not think anything is imminent. We do not believe anything is operational. We've been saying the same things for 3 years now. But we have learned here at Peek Around the Corner that the talks between the institutions and the conferences, even though we are the ones that said the quick strike elevated talks, and then 7 days later, Ross Dellinger reported that, I am going to have to take an L on something here. Let's begin the show with myself taking the L. Even though we believe we are still correct and nothing is imminent and nothing is operational. Even though we were correct on letting you all know that the preparations of the quick strike were happening and that there were elevated talks. Even though we were correct when we told you all that at least there has been some hot bubble of action going on, we did learn something that we did not know before. And I cannot explain to you the details, but I will tell you the following. The talks between certain schools in the conferences have been way more extensive than we even believed at Peak Around the Corner. And that's all I can say. Short of imminent, short of operational, and we could be wrong, we don't think we're wrong on that. But the talks have gone all the way, and I'm not going to say anything more than that. I can't. So the hot bubble of actions have been more extensive than we ever believed at Peak Around the Corner. When the door opened to us on the one north of Birmingham, Alabama, then a couple of more were told to us, and now we are being told that there has been quite extensive talks, and I cannot go another step beyond that, not today. I wish I could, but I can't. We're sitting here on July 24th. I'm pretty confident that nothing is imminent. I'm pretty confident that nothing is operational. But I would be lying to you if I told you there hasn't been first party talks. We're not, they still need to pass more data back. We're well beyond that. In fact, we may even be at the time where there are true negotiations going on if something should happen. Still don't believe anything is imminent. So, this Holy Smokes Theater update grabs all that information, and we only can deliver it in this manner. Hopefully it's entertaining. It's going to be informative, and this is the only way I can do it. So that is part of this big show here on a Friday, July 24th. I do want to thank all of you for joining us today. I know you've all got great lives, busy lives. You're ready to get going this weekend. I am running on fumes, and I got other stuff I got to do after this live show, but this is going to be a big one. So buckle in, buckle up, brace for impact. We got a super chat, Christopher Hooter to the purple and gold. It means the SEC and the Big Ten will use compromised cap size to leverage, cherry pick those that they want to join. Probably bad news for North Carolina State and Virginia Tech. Well, as long as you can get the schools that you think you can get without having to get them, I don't know. I don't know. I think, to be honest with you, whatever's going on in this negotiation between the lawmakers and Senk and Petiti, I don't think those representing Virginia Tech's interests or those representing North Carolina State interests I don't think they're in the room, and they're going to be holding out. They're going to be doing what they can do politically in their state. The Board of Governors in the state of North Carolina. I don't know. Thank you for the $5 holler, Christopher Hooter. Very much appreciate it, sir. Very much appreciate your generosity. We're going to do a roll call here. First of all, we got a couple other super chats. We got Bruce Harris. The Holy Smokes Theater doesn't have AC. It just has Greg. Do not bring up Cooler, the Holy Smokes Theater, and Greg the Cooler. There is no... that's not what Greg the Cooler is all about. So I'm not going to even... Thank you for the $2 holler, Bruce Harris, but that's not Greg the Cooler. Greg the Cooler has to do with picks against the spread, not the Holy Smokes Theater. Okay, let's do the roll call real quick here. Buckeye Greg, Steve Timothy Vitt, the Notorious Sun Devil, thanks for coming on in. Bill Kukuza is in the house. Edward, the Auburn Tiger. Mr. Turpin, D Terp 543, thanks for coming on in. AFKA is in the house. Run with Scissors is here. Rod Nix, the Big Lubbock, is canceled. Michigan and Duke game is canceled. I think I missed a lot of other people here. Movie Time Blues, Florida Man. Lorenzo Haynes is coming on in. Alex Armistead is here. RT is in the house. Mohr Simmons, thanks for coming on in. Mohr Simmons, appreciate it. Kenneth Maynard. Frank Pater is in the house. Okay, and anybody else that I missed, I do apologize. Thanks for everybody coming on in. Appreciate it. Charles Foster Malloy, thank you. The Almighty, thank you. Tazbo, thank you for appreciate it. Jayhawk Okie, all right. Well, let's get into this. PCSA not dead yet. Not dead yet. Not according to Ross Dellinger. Not according to Ross Dellinger's reporting of today. And again, a reminder, keep your head on a swivel as we do this live show. Let me know if there's any breaking news report from Ross Dellinger or anybody else when it comes to this revised bill. It's got to be released at some point. Ross Dellinger today. Some context around John Thune's comments yesterday. Republican Senator Ted Cruz and Eric Schmidt remain in talks with Democrat Maria Cantwell over revisions to protect the College Sports Act to gain the support of the SEC and the Big Ten, a critical endorsement if the bill is to pass. Okay. All right, that's reasonable. Cruz and Schmidt and Maria Cantwell are still in talks with the SEC and the Big Ten. I don't think any of us are too surprised about that. The bill is not dead, according to Ross Dellinger. The bill is not dead. And Thune's commitment to bringing the legislation to the floor remains. However, support must increase. It must increase. It doesn't have enough support. Support must increase for the leader. For the leader, Thune, to have confidence in its passage through both chambers. Something believed to be impossible without Big Ten and SEC support. So again, more compromises. More compromises. going on? Can the Big Ten and the SEC get something that they can support? Ross Dellinger, Yahoo Sports. While Cruz and Schmidt have agreed on many of the revisions from conference leadership, Cantwell has been reviewing proposed changes and adjusting language to assure that enough Democratic support remains for the legislation to pass the 60-vote Senate threshold in the House. So you can I'm gonna do a lot of speculation here, okay? I'm gonna do a lot of assuming. So bear with me. I could be completely wrong, but I got a feeling that the SEC and the Big Ten are going, we can't have that, we can't have that. They give it to Cruz and Schmidt, and Cruz and Schmidt is saying, okay, all right, that sounds good to us. They pass it to Cantwell, and Cantwell's going, well, wait a second. I might be able to take this, but I gotta volley back to you on something else, and back and forth. They're trying to thread the needle. Now, this is the one. This next post. Many of the SEC, Big Ten proposed changes in Title II, expansion and pooling rights, are in a good place, quote unquote. However, broadening the state preemption provision in Title I to prevent future legal challenges around recruiting and tampering is not solidified. It's a key issue. All right. Okay. All right. Let's get back to the top half of this post, because for me, it's the most important item. I get it. Legal challenges around recruiting and tampering, all that stuff. What does it mean when it says many of the SEC and Big Ten's proposed changes in Title II, expansion and pooling rights are in a good place? Have they found a compromise? Have they found a compromise? Now, the pooling rights, I think that's an easy one, right? More language that makes sure that it's not mandatory, it's optional. Maybe more language in there that makes it easier for the option to be happen with some other conferences. That's an easy one. I think we all know where that is heading. The expansion one. The SEC's Big Ten proposed changes are in a good place when it comes with expansion. I wish that Ross Dellinger could have put in more details on that. But I got a feeling he couldn't. It was embargoed. They must have settled on some language. What is it? Is there still a cap number associated with Title II? A membership cap number? Is it still in there? Is it 19? Is it 20? Is there 5-year provision that a school jumping from one power conference to another have to be independent for 5 years? Is it still in there? Dellinger says that the expansion part, going back to the lawmakers and the Big Ten and the SEC, is in a good place. Which means the compromise, it must be good enough for all parties. Again, I'm just speculating. Of course I am. I have no idea. Before we go on, because there's a few more posts, a little bit more reporting that Ross Dellinger did this morning. I poked and prodded. I took that and I said, what the? I beat him, his associates, an administrator, chatted behind the curtain. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. Total consensus from a Big Ten perspective. From the Big Ten side of the aisle. All of them said there is no way that the Big Ten has committed to a compromise of a membership cap of 19 schools. It can't be. So, if they're correct, is the number 20? Or is there no number at all? Is there some other provision? Remember, many of the SEC and Big Ten proposed changes to Title II. It's in a good place. This is the SEC and the Big Ten proposing changes to Title II are in a good place. I don't have an answer. But my goodness, hopefully we get some more reporting, more detailed reporting tonight, this weekend, Monday. But I only can tell you from a peek around the corner, the information that I have received, no way, no how would the Big Ten commit to a compromise of a membership cap of 19. It is unfathomable. One of the reasons why it's unfathomable is, and I don't want to spend time going down this rabbit hole today, but the Big Ten has spent so much time. They have done it internally, externally. They have brought in consultants. They have brought in third party. They brought in discussions with private capital, private equity. I'm not saying they're doing that, but they have brought in a lot of people. Future potential marketing partners, future potential strategic partners, and none of this foretells a Big Ten conference that remains at 18 schools or sits at 19 schools. So that's as far as I'm going to go with that today. But none of this rings true that the Big Ten would compromise and commit themselves to a compromise of a membership cap of 19. It doesn't ring true to anybody that I talk to. None of them. Take that however you want it. Take that however you want it. Ross Dellinger. Another debate centers around the rev share cap as lawmakers work to close the multimedia MMR cap circumvention loophole and add to the bill a $25 million retention pool for schools to use on retaining their athletes. in addition to the current $21.3 million that would be to be used to acquire athletes. However, disagreement rages. It rages on when it comes to the retention pool. The latest cap discussions centered around a limitation to the $25 million retention pool, where schools would be limited to spending only $5 million of that pool on basketball. The concept is meant to provide equity across the landscape, where schools without a football might spend $46 million on basketball. As part of the discussions on closing cap circumvention loopholes, lawmakers are exploring an idea to prevent NIL from school-affiliated entities to prospects high school athletes. A key move to ensure a harder cap and essential for power leagues to agree to the retention pool. So if we're all going to agree to a $25 million retention pool, let's close the loophole on NIL, high school, and somehow that be connected somehow to a potential choice in the university. As negotiations continue, a path exists with Big Ten SEC support to move the bill to the floor the first week of August before lawmakers break for a month. But a post-recess vote may be more realistic. Donald Trump's latest executive order takes effect August 1st without a bill, and I don't think anything of that executive order, that's not going to have any teeth. But anyways, officially it does. So there it is. According to Ross Dellinger and what he's being told, not dead yet. Not dead yet. Not dead yet. All right, so that's the first story. Now let's go into week 0 games. Week 0 is coming up, ladies and gentlemen. It is almost here, 5 Saturdays from now, or tomorrow, beginning tomorrow. North Carolina, TCU. This is the updated spread. TCU favored by 7.5. 7.5. North Carolina at TCU. And when we do our watch party, this is going to be one of the games that we do. North Carolina at TCU. Now, I'm not going to give anything away. I'm not going to give anything away yet. But what do you think? Tar Heels, Horned Frogs, 7.5. Is that enough points? Is North Carolina getting enough points? San Jose State versus USC. 35.5 point spread. Now, I was late last night. I was listening to a USC YouTube channel discussing the season. And they were talking about Gary Patterson, the new defensive coordinator. Now, Gary Patterson has not been coaching defense on the football field in live action for quite a long time. There is a little worry that Gary Patterson might have lost his fastball. We're not going to know. Right? Again, he's always been a defensive-minded coach. Head coach for TCU, did a great job. But he's the defensive coordinator. He's the defensive coordinator. And there is a lot of worry about the linebacker room at USC. Lots of worry. There is some excitement for that true freshman tight end, Mark Bohannon. And, of course, a lot of excitement on the offensive line, which is all coming back. Jaden Mayava. Yeah. A lot of it is going to center around, can USC become middle of the pack defense in the Big Ten? If they can get there, if they can get to that level, mid-level of the Big Ten, they have a really good shot at going to the college football playoffs, and that's where I've got them. San Jose State, 35.5. North Carolina State, Virginia. The Cavaliers favored by 5.5 points. Bo Pibula versus C.J. Bailey. That is going to be one of our Week 0 games. Jacksonville State versus North Dakota State. North Dakota State's first game, FBS. Going to be a big moment for the Bison. Hawaii, Stanford. The Cardinal, favored by 4.5. I'm not going to give anything away on that game. New Mexico State, Florida State is going to be one of the 7 games we pick in Week 0. Mike Norvell, the Seminoles favored by 29.5. Can Florida State get some momentum out of Week 0? Can they look good? Can they cover? Can they plaster New Mexico State? What if they come out of this game and they win by 35, win by 40, win by 45? What if they come out of this game only winning by 13? Does it matter? I think it probably does. I think it's going to definitely matter to the fan base, and it might matter in that locker room. They need some confidence. They need something good to happen early in the season. And then the game of the day in Week 0. Very, 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 very important game in all of G6. Memphis at UNLV. UNLV favored by 5.5. UNLV is going to score a lot of points, and they're probably going to give up a lot of points. Charles Huff, Dan Mullen. That is going to be a late night game. So there it is. Those are your 7 Week 0 games. And again, we are going to be taking all of these games. Greg the Gold and PATC Einsteins. We're going to be picking all these games. So get ready. You got a few more weeks to get ready. 4 or 5 weeks to get ready. Running Rebels. Florida State doesn't cover the spread. Rod Nix says Florida State cruises. Seminole Rod Nix. Hawaii may be a very good team. Could make the Mountain West Championship game. Absolutely. They got that returning quarterback who can do some magic. Memphis wins a close one. The game I'm looking forward to is the road game against Alabama. That'll be the measuring stick. We got Heartbreak 25 Super Chat. Three ACC, 3 Big 12, and 7 Big 10 teams have a high winning percentage in Florida State since 2015. Florida State's winning percentage may fall below 60% this year. Grease the skid. U4 TV ratings is just a skid mark in competition. My goodness, Heartbreak 25. Throwing out some elbows to the Seminoles. I don't know what the Seminoles ever did at Heartbreak 25.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Well, I do think a lot of Seminole fans, not all of them, I don't know what the percentages are, but there's a good slice of Seminole fans that wouldn't mind seeing Florida State stumble a little bit this year so they can make a change at the head of the helm. They can make a change at the head coach position. So I think, but some Seminole fans, and I understand it, they don't want to ever see their Seminoles lose. They want Norvell to make a big comeback here, to get momentum back to that proud, prestigious, valuable football program. Thank you, Heartbreak 25. Thank you for the $10 holler. An elbow goes at the Seminoles, and now an elbow goes at yours truly from the Evil Badger, $5 holler. Evil Badger. Greg, sorry about Minnesota losing the LeBron sweepstakes. Not sorry. Yeah, once again, the re-elected mayor of Louisville City. We could not get it done. We're going to have a really good team next year. It's going to be really exciting and all that stuff. We're going to win more games than we lose. We're going to go into playoffs. The Timberwolves will probably win another playoff series, maybe even 2 of them, and then come up short. Because I am the re-elected mayor of Louisville City. Thank you, Evil Badger. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Timothy Vitt, Greg, don't feel bad about LeBron picking Philly over Minnesota. LeBron's washed up anyways. LeBron did not have to be LeBron on Minnesota. All he had to do was bring his basketball IQ to the team. He would have been the perfect fit. Now the Timberwolves are very, very, very weak at the power forward position, and I don't think they have an answer on the roster, and I don't think they can get an answer. It's still going to be a fun, exciting season, but, we're going to come up short. All right, now let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into the Holy Smokes Theater. Our July official update. I see the chat room is getting a little feisty on this Friday afternoon. It's been a long week. Everybody relax. Everybody relax. Calm down. Here is the Holy Smokes Theater update. Big Ten, SEC. The candidate list on the left side for the Big Ten. The candidate list on the SEC on the right side. The SEC's tiers are a lot more simplified. The Big Ten candidate list is a lot more complicated. And I do believe that the Big Ten candidate list runs true in what we have heard on the large swath of discussions that the Big Ten has had. They have let a lot of this, they have let both of them have done a lot more work, but the Big Ten is a lot more complicated. For more than one reason. The Big Ten, as we have been told, once again, has not given up on North Carolina, and they're not going to. And they're not going to give up on Notre Dame, which gives a lot of people a lot of frustrations out there. But we have been reminded once again at Peek Around the Corner. Take that however you want to take it. They're not going to leave the top targets until the top. In this next wave and how it happens, what triggers it, that phone call, those will be made before the final decision on this next wave. And Notre Dame is going to be talked to. North Carolina is going to be talked to. For the Big Ten, it's Notre Dame, UNC, Miami. And that has not changed. And today it has not changed. As far as we know, none of that has changed. None of it. It hasn't changed. Virginia and Duke on the fourth tier. You know, there are times that we've had Virginia a little bit higher, but I think the fourth tier is about right. They hold a lot of interest to the Big Ten presidents. Duke at number 4, I think so. We really now this I've gone over this with. I'm not going to tell you how many people, but more than one and less than 12. How about that? Before we produced it today. So, this is the Big Ten candidate list. This is how we believe their interests are in the following schools. Attainability is a whole other factor to this. This is not a list based upon attainability. This is a list based upon these are the top targets. In the 5th tier, Florida State, Clemson, Georgia Tech. In the 6th tier, Utah, Stanford. In the 7th tier, Kansas, California. In the 8th tier, Virginia Tech, North Carolina State. If you look at the Southeastern Conference candidate tier list, it's a lot more easier. Number 1, UNC, Virginia. 2nd tier is Clemson, Florida State. 3rd tier is Miami, North Carolina State, Virginia Tech. And 4th, we're going to go ahead and still put Kansas on there. But there is a huge gap, we believe, between 3 and 4. Like, huge gap. Now, if you notice, and I want to make this clear. The list would change drastically. For example, a miracle happens. A miracle happens. And the Big Ten actually, Notre Dame actually says, I'm ready to go. And UNC says no to the Big Ten. I think we're going to go with the Southeastern Conference. Well, suddenly it's going to be looking like Notre Dame, Miami, Notre Dame, Stanford. The list is going to change depending on what happens at the top of the list. But overall, Miami is number 3 with a bullet, and there's probably a gap between 3 and 4 on the Big Ten list as well. So anything after that third tier, you're going to need a lot of things to go your way. You're going to have things go your way. Virginia and Duke, I think we've heard enough that peek around the corner to put them on the same tier. And that's as far as I will go with that. This should not surprise anybody if you've been following us. There is really no, but again, I worked hard on this because I wanted to make sure that we had everything, every drop of possible information. B. Tim and his associates, chatter behind the curtain. We went to one particular administrator that we have a relationship with in the Big Ten. We threw out questions to certain money purchase in the ACC. Chatter behind the curtain when it comes to Clemson. So different angles. And there is a surprise consensus to all this. A little bit different, depending on who you talk to, but this is the accumulation of all those voices. Relationships that we have built on for 12 years. So again, the Big Ten is not giving up on the Notre Dame UNC. Miami's on both lists. Clemson and Florida State are on both lists. Much higher on the Southeastern Conference list. Kansas is on both lists. Virginia Tech, North Carolina State on both lists. We do not have Duke on the Southeastern Conference list. And we don't have Notre Dame on the Southeastern Conference list. So there it is. It's pretty simplified. This is what we believe is the current status. And I want to reiterate something here. And I do know that show tonight on College Football Mafia, I think there's going to be more information that is going to be presented by Mohr. I will say this, and I want to reiterate this. The talks have been way more than I thought until about 4 or 5 days ago and then more doors were open to peek around the corner with unfortunately an embargo around it. But the talks have been way more than I thought. And I did take the L on that earlier today on this show. Even though I said to you guys, we know that a hot bubble of action happened and probably a couple more, it sounds like this has been a reoccurring situation for the last couple of months. So there's been a lot of preparation done, which means that the media company of ESPN, Disney, they have been involved. The media companies of the Big Ten have been involved. That is, when you get to that point, you have done an extensive analysis of everything. I do believe, and I want to make this clear because it had been told to us, that nothing is imminent. We don't believe anything is imminent. There is, you got the Protect the College Sports Act. We don't know how that's going to go about. And then we got the college football playoffs. The format, how is that going to be worked out? How much money can they be made in the 2014 playoffs? And that is all going to have an effect on what happens next in the next wave of disruption. But it is very difficult. There's not many examples where you go this far into the weeds and you don't pull the trigger ultimately in the next 12 months, 18 months. There's examples of it, but not many. These schools know what the SEC and the Big Ten want. They've got NDAs. It doesn't mean they know that they're going to get picked or not picked, but they have a pretty good read on it. But they know what these conferences, they've opened up, they've talked to them, what we like about them, what you need to improve on. There's probably been negotiations that are more extensive than I had imagined. It's hard to get the toothpaste back in the tube. Now, it has happened previously. Texas talking to the Pac-12, they did all of it, and then at the very moment, Texas pulled back. But that was a different time. And I'm going to say this, and I don't mean to, this is going to have big ramifications when this does happen on the ACC and the Big 12. And I think the Big 12 is going to exist. I think the ACC is going to survive and exist. And I think whatever happens, those two conferences, the stories on that are going to rise next. The backfilling, the promising G6 programs, all that is going to be stories that we're going to have to follow. Going to be incredibly interesting, incredibly impactful. But it's a buyer's market out there. In other words, when it comes to the Big Ten and the SEC, the value of a P2 invite is even higher today than it was before. And you can see that in how even Congress is acting. They want to limit. They want to put the cap on it. They don't want these other conferences to be destroyed. You see what Cody Campbell has paid into it. You see what Smash Capital. Everybody has this realization then an SEC invite is incredibly valuable. Big Ten invite is incredibly valuable, more than ever. And if you've gotten this far with talks, man, it is hard, very hard to get the toothpaste back in the tube. There's another example. When the Big 12 was thinking about expanding, and Bob Bowlesby said things publicly, the president of Oklahoma at the time, were looking to expand, and then they did not. So could we be sitting here July 1st, June 1st, 2028 at 10 o'clock at night with no ACC schools filing a notice of withdrawal? Can we be sitting here on June 1st, 2028? I don't think so. And right now, I think it's even odds that it happens on or before June 1st, 2027. I'm just saying I cannot see it happening after June 1st, 2028. Where we are today is nowhere where we were July 24th of 2025. This is a completely different landscape. It's a completely different... There were not all these talks. This did not happen right after the Penn State Clemson ACC settlement. Not to this extent. No way. No way. We are so far beyond those early days, those early months. This bill, what's happened on Capitol Hill, has scared the bejeebies out of the Big Ten and the SEC. Things are completely different. Now I get it. That isn't quite evident out there for a lot of people. A lot of people think, well, we're just next year we're all gonna bring up this bill again, new Senate. And we're going to just take another look at it. And don't worry about it. We don't have to. Damage has been done. Things are going to change. How exactly, I do not know. But things are not going to look like July 24th, 2027 is not going to look like July 24th, 2026. The SEC is going to have made some more autonomy rules, the Big Ten, player compensation. I think things could look drastically different in a month from now. Things are going to look different. So, if this PCSA doesn't pass, now, according to Ross Dellinger, it's not dead yet. But you can hear the death rattle. You can hear the death rattle deep in its chest. If it doesn't pass with Big Ten and SEC support, we are looking at big, significant changes in the college sports landscape. Let's go to your phone calls. We have covered week 0, the 7 games that we're going to pick. We have covered the Ross Dellinger reporting, and we are still looking for that revised bill, formal revisions. We still have not seen it yet. That I know of. Keep your head on a swivel. Keep your head on a swivel. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. If you look at the SEC media poll, Georgia number 1, Texas 2, Ole Miss 3, A&M 4, LSU 5, Alabama 6, Oklahoma 7, Tennessee 8, Florida 9, Mizzou 10, South Carolina 11, Auburn, Vandy, Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Arkansas. It looks quite similar to our order of finish prediction in early spring. Although we got Texas number 1, we've got LSU number 2, we've got Georgia 3, and we've got Ole Miss 4. And we've got A&M 5, Bama 6. So there is a lot of similarities to the SEC media poll and our prediction against our early order of finish prediction. I'll post that right now. We got Texas 1, LSU 2, Georgia 3, Ole Miss 4, A&M 5, Bama 6. We are a little bit more optimistic on Florida than the SEC media. Oklahoma 8. They've got Oklahoma 7. We got South Carolina 9. SEC media has the Gamecocks 11. We got Tennessee 10. Media has them 8. Phone lines are open. Excuse me. Chaotic, the PCSA's on fumes and many miles from a filling station. Daniel Gorby, if the media execs are involved, we are getting closer to realignment. Frank Potter, Virginia and North Carolina will want to go with one of the 3 top rivals. I do want to thank Christopher Hooter, Bruce Harris, Heartbreak 25, and Evil Badger for your generosity. Thank you very much. MBM, Oklahoma State Cowboy. People are way too biased for their team. Think like a media executive. David Kreitzer, Miami's doing everything right exactly at the right time.
Call from
Edward the Auburn Tiger.
Edward the Auburn Tiger, I appreciate you calling, sir. The floor is yours.
Greg, another great show as always, man. We appreciate you grinding and keeping us informed in the peak around the corner. Greg, I'm just gonna breathe, savor this moment, the quiet, the calm.
The calm before the storm, huh?
Man, you're talking about we could be on the precipice of one of the historical moments in both the SEC and the Big Ten. I mean, you're taking the L, saying that the accelerated conversations are even more up to the point, and I don't know if I'm saying this right, to the involvement of the networks and the decisions that are being made. And
however, we still come up short of saying that things are imminent. But yeah, we're all the way up to that point.
True, but Greg, you're talking about 2 mad and upset conferences who has been almost taken to the woodshed by this government bill. It's been put in a precarious situation. And they're like 2 great racehorses in the stocks waiting on the gun to go off to make their go. That's what I believe, Greg. You're getting all this out at the right time because it could be Monday, it could be Wednesday, it could be next week, it could be 2 weeks from now. We're talking activity. We're talking it's going down. And one of the things that really stuck out to me, and I think majority of the people that's in the comments there is that Miami being in the third tier of the SEC. Man, that sounds like some ESPN involvement. That sounds like you are being made aware of accelerated conversations between them, maybe SEC and ESPN. And Greg, I've kind of believed this, and I'm gonna say it. I just do not see ESPN, who's trying to maintain their dominance over college football, who's also trying to stay diverse in their entertainment and the presentation of it. I do not see them letting go of their prime college football inventory and just let it walk out the door. I don't see it, especially with cutbacks like they're doing. They're going to be maximizing their growth. They're going to be maximizing potential. Them, SEC, and man, this is a little shocking, but man, what a statement that you have made on that list. And this, everybody's giddy, everybody's impatient, but I believe that there's a firestorm about to happen. I believe as soon as this little dust clears, with them either nailing down the rest of this bill, I don't think it'll make it to the Senate, but just until they feel comfortable, as soon as they get that opportunity, they're putting the pedal to the metal, both the Big Ten and the SEC. And I believe before the school year, before football season begins, a realignment will have already been established, Greg, is what I believe. Thank you for all the hard work. Keep us informed. You have a great day, sir.
You got it, buddy. I appreciate it, sir. Great call. Great call. Beautiful. Thank you, Edward the Auburn Tiger. Yeah. So.
From
Morris Simmons.
Morris Simmons, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling, Mr. Seminole. I appreciate it.
Yes, Greg. I'm going to say something, because when you had the banners up here in the Holy Smoke Theater, and I'm
Yes,
looking
sir.
at the SEC Big Ten,
Yeah.
okay, remember, I've been saying Miami Big Ten all the way. And, and Miami's still holding in the third slot over there on the Big Ten side. And from what I was getting initially, I was getting a whole lot of SEC people were like, no to Miami, yes FSU, and Clemson and UNC Virginia, but it's a possibility, and I'm looking at that. I'm really looking at how you got it set up here and say it's a possibility. If the SEC strike first and the Big Ten don't jump out here and they still play reactive what they're doing instead of being proactive, the SEC is a good chance they might just go ahead, and I would never think they would do it because I just don't see three schools in one state.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see it clear as day, the strategy behind it, because at one point in time here in Florida, there was a strong rivalry between all the top three schools was playing each other. Can you imagine if you got Florida State, and Miami in the same conference rivalry?
Yeah.
And that now Florida will have to play Miami, and we always had here in Florida, unbeknownst to the rest of the country, we always had a state championship. We always had we didn't just play for just a rivalry. It was a state championship we used to brag about here in Florida. So if they bring Florida State, Miami in, Clemson, and let's say if they somehow UNC could break loose, or let's say UNC don't break loose, just them three schools right there, Florida State, Miami, and Clemson, is a juggernaut. You can go ahead and pull a school out west if you want to. If you want to bring in Kansas, That's good. These three schools will grease the wheel and bring so much money into the SEC. Forget about Big Ten. These three schools right here, the TV ratings, everything will be off the chart. It will be really off the chart. And it's ESPN behind the scenes. I think ESPN is trying to find ways to raise money, cash, bring in Netflix if you want to. And yeah, I agree with the last caller, Edwards, because if that happened, man, that would be explosive. And yeah, I understand that you have three schools in the state of Florida. It's not a saturation. You got South Florida, you got North Florida, you got the Central Florida. Florida is big enough for these three schools to come on into the SEC. Now, at one point, I even looked at Texas as a possibility, as another state that could bring in a third school. But right now, they only got a solid 2 out there right now. But here in Florida, you definitely have a solid 3 schools here. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
It's looking good. But I do know we getting into Power 2, for sure. Okay.
All right.
It's good news. All right.
I love you, man. Appreciate it. Morris Simmons, legendary caller. Morris Simmons getting ready for that measuring stick game against Alabama. Last year, Florida State beat Alabama.
From
Tristan 5.
Tristan 5, thank you for calling. I do appreciate it. The floor is yours.
Hey, Greg, thanks for taking my call.
You got it, buddy.
Listen, I want to piggyback on what your last 2 callers were saying, because I've been thinking about this. You know, your shows are thought-provoking, Greg. I don't know if you realize that.
Yeah.
Ever since you did the show about a week ago about Texas Tech and the ACC, and I know that, you know, in the show you were saying that that's not something you really believe, but you were just bringing us the information.
Yeah.
Well, I've been thinking about it, and let me ask you this. Remind me again what the source was for that?
That was Jim Williams, and it was speculation. He was speculating.
He was all right, yeah. Jim Williams speculating.
Yeah, it was a speculation zone show. Yep.
Here's what I wanted to mention. So Mohr Simmons, I think, was touching on this, and this is something that I've been saying all along. The SEC, if they ever take 3 from one state, it will be in Texas and Florida first.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the emergence of Miami here recently, like they're reinvigorating the program, there's a good chance, Greg, that ESPN doesn't want to see Miami leave the conference. Or, leave their umbrella, right? They don't want to see them leave the ACC, or if they do, they would like to steer them into the SEC, potentially, just because, hey, a resurgent Miami, you get ratings with that. That's a ratings winner right there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to fit all these puzzle pieces together in my mind, and I'm not saying that I believe this. I'm just kind of putting together this as a theory or an idea. But what if the SEC in their conversations with ESPN has been telling them, look, we can have 3 in a state, but you start with Texas and Florida, and then ESPN said, all right, well, we want Miami, Florida State, and Florida all together in the same conference, the SEC. And then suppose that there's some need from ESPN's perspective that they want a 3rd in Texas. Perhaps for scheduling, Greg, and this is another possibility, is that all the schools in the conference want to play in these states for recruiting purposes. And so perhaps that's where this SMU thing is coming from, is that they've made up their mind that in the long run they are going to take 3 from Florida and they are going to take 3 from Texas. And then, like I was saying on another show, that sets the table to take 3 from North Carolina if the opportunity is there to do so. And in each case, Greg, it would be the 2 largest state institutions within each of those states, and then the number 1 private institution within each of those states. And I think if that's the formula the SEC is considering, or maybe have possibly even decided to follow, I think that's a very interesting development. Mm-hmm. There could be an opportunity there for the SEC to absorb all the programs that ESPN really cares about. And we might see a Miami and a Florida State and a Clemson and then some of the North Carolina schools go into the SEC. Now, Greg, I'm not expecting that. I said this is just a theory. And then the second part of the theory is, what if they have to backfill, and what if ESPN's goal in all of this is to backfill into the ACC along the same footprint as the SEC? So perhaps they will say, all right, we need to backfill and get Texas Tech into the ACC because we want that Texas school to be there. And then what if they want to try and do the same thing with the TCU and South Florida, right, or Central Florida into the ACC? It might be that all of these stories are related to each other, Greg. I know it's not a story, it was just an article, but I'm trying to put the puzzle pieces together, and it seems like maybe ESPN has an even grander plan than we realize.
Yeah.
And that they want to have 2 conferences in this region of the Southeast, not just one. Right? They'll have a feeder conference, and then they'll have another conference where schools can come in and develop themselves over time and perhaps one day make it into the SEC. So I'm drawing inspiration from all your shows that you've been doing recently and trying to put all this stuff together.
Very interesting. Anything else, sir?
No, that's all I had. I just appreciate what you're doing and keep up the good work.
I will. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Tristan,
all right,
beautiful call, sir.
From
Rock and Rant.
Rock and Rant, the floor is yours. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I will try not to rant as much today as yesterday. Apparently it's possible that my rant will turn out to be completely wrong. We'll see what happens with the College Sports Act.
Yeah.
But you might have to unplug your internet after this show today because people are going to be coming for you and people are going to be coming for you. I think there's some conferences that might be some teams that might be very upset with you. I'm old enough to remember that our decrepit little stadium that hosted the national championship and half the World Cup was not good enough for anybody, and now they're on 2 lists. But anyway, I digress. Greg, what is $588 million?
What's $588 million? $588 million more than I have.
$588 million is what the ACC network took in the last public postings that ESPN, as part of a public company, had to disclose.
Okay.
So for everyone who wonders about that, I guess I'm just taking your theory to the next phase because you've already listed all these different teams. I do have a question for you about that. Mm-hmm. But I'm just riffing off of everybody else. This is no inside information. I'm just doing what if, which I sometimes like to do. If this list goes down, and the big question that's not on your Holy Smokes theater is how many seats are in the theater on either side, right? Because that makes a gigantic difference one way or the other. Yeah. Are there 4 tickets? Are there 6 tickets? Or are there 14 tickets to the theater?
Yeah.
Right? Because 14 tickets to the theater, they're all kind of already up there, right? But there's a few that are on both sides. So then all of a sudden, if there's 14 tickets to the theater, people who are mad at you might love you.
Yeah.
Ultimately. But I'm just wondering if, depending upon how many seats go, to riff off of probably the last 2 calls, maybe ESPN would try to figure out a way to like we think of the ACC being in a worse position, right? Versus the Big 12 a lot of times for you're going to lose your biggest brands. But even after we talk about all the cord cutting, if they have that thing that's bringing in $588 million a year,
Yep.
Are they in a different position than even the Big 12 with a better commissioner might be, despite losing their brands, to entice some brands over, even if those go on? And I don't know that question, and I'm not advocating for it, but as the callers were doing this, and there was the shock and awe about, hey, Miami's on the third tier and whether that means anything for the SEC, this whole ESPN theory of how much is that ACC network worth to them in a world where we've already dismissed it because of cord cutting, and would that make them do something different that might try to one-up Big 12 poaching the ACC if the theater seats move in the way that you think could possibly do so?
Yeah, I said that, I am not a believer in whatever happens, after whatever happens. I'm not a believer that it's automatically big advantage Big 12. It could end up being advantage Big 12, but I'm not a believer that it's automatic at all. One of the big reasons is the ACC network. So, yeah,
so
I agree.
I just thought I'd throw that number out because I don't know if anyone, I'm only doing it because I'm listening to the previous callers. It wasn't a thought in my head when your show began, but I just found it interesting because at least now how profitable that is different than how much revenue they brought in, right? We don't know how ESPN is internally accounted for that or how any of the various schools are. I'm sure somebody knows how, NC State, another public institution, might disclose that revenue and what it means to their bottom line at their athletic department, breaking down all the ACC things. One question I do have for you before I'll shut up and let others go, because I know it's going to be a hot topic, is did anything fundamentally change for you in that third tier in the SEC, or is it just we're seeing it in a theater listing in a way that maybe didn't register with me even before? Like, I still think Miami's going to the Big Ten. I wouldn't have a problem with the SEC. All I ultimately care about is that I'm not relying on a billionaire for the next 40 years of my college football watching life, if I'm not lucky, to determine whether or not we can compete. But did something change in those tiers, or is that more just listing what you've known? Is there some movement, or again, just it's restating what you already knew, but visually everyone's like grabbing onto it today in this show?
I put the image back up. I would say there's two things. One is we got it retold to us. Sometimes we have to be retold like 20 times before we get it through our thick skulls, and that includes myself. That the Big Ten is not giving up on North Carolina. Okay? So they're just not going to do it. I mean, North Carolina is a, the thing is North Carolina is considered from the SEC and the Big Ten, their top domino, other than Notre Dame, but yet it's the most complicated domino, right? Really incredibly complicated. The other thing is, the Virginia, so the Big Ten, the Big Ten does have interest in Virginia and Duke. So the Virginia piece, if the Southeastern Conference is looking for if the Southeastern Conference, depending on what happens with this PCSA and what it looks like next year, and they're going to do the big scoop regardless. Well, if you do not have Virginia as one of the schools that you can scoop up, and let's say it doesn't go well for North Carolina either, but let's just say, for example, they get a North Carolina, but Virginia goes to the Big Ten, and you're going to do the big scoop. Well, who's your fourth school?
Right.
And Miami is going to be up in there. So those are the two reasons why I'm trying to dance around.
No, and I'm not meaning to pin you down. I just was more clarifying whether that actually is a move or if it's just people are visualizing something you've actually said before. I'm almost interviewing you.
People are now. This has come from an accumulation of a lot of people. So a number greater than 1 and a number less than 12. That's all.
Yeah,
but a lot of people
totally understand.
So
Yeah,
Miami
I'm not trying to nail
has
you down or
been,
divulge your sources.
Miami would be, I mean the brand, but the market is exquisite. So, and they're going to be looking at that. So Miami's going to be in the Southeastern Conference list. Now, again, if I had to put chips in the middle of the table, I would have Miami to the Big Ten, but I don't.
Yeah, me too. I would drive off the side of the road if I heard it happen to the SEC.
Yeah.
All I ultimately care about is a safety spot, and then Miami and FSU play every year, no matter where they go. That's literally all I care about, as well as maybe not the disruption of the entire sport in the process. That would be great too.
Let me say this. If you look at the Big Ten tier list,
it hurts my head.
I feel really confident about that list. I feel really confident about who's at the number 1, who's at the number 2, who's at the number 3, and I even feel confident about who's at number 4. So I feel confident on who's at number 5. 6, 7, and 8 is kind of a not as concrete. But that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that number 4, tier 4, is, I think, really, 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 really solid. So that might give you some hint on why.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, when this is all said and done, whenever that is, one of the things I think we have to commission somebody, maybe Wild Ute knows someone, but you ever see those videos on YouTube where they're like infographics of charts of brands emerging and going down and all this stuff and where they ultimately land, and it's just like a visualization of a chart? It would be interesting to see where people were like, they're going to be number 1, they're number 3, number 2 at the news at the time, and what ultimately wound up happening. Because if you flash that screen up that you have up right now, the first time that Jen Knoll on your show triggered me to text in the chat, it would have been a lot different. It's been a fascinating journey to get to this place, and we're not even at the finish line. But great show, Greg.
You got it. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Be good.
Yep. And when Rock and Rant made the comment, "You're gonna have people mad at you, Greg." I don't, I'm okay with people. I'm okay with people being mad at me. I mean, when we did the USC story, I know a lot of you didn't know me at the time, but I got absolutely pummeled on my friends kept sending me stuff on message boards, on everywhere. I just got annihilated. And I'm sitting here with the evidence. We knew what was going on. And I couldn't get any of the media companies other than Minnesota 247 and USC 247. And I just eventually, whatever. I got absolutely pummeled. I got pummeled on that Colorado thing with that Tony Altamore that guy was going after me like I got absolutely pummeled. Oregon, Washington, I got absolutely pummeled. So I don't mind getting pummeled. I don't mind people getting mad. I do get upset when people distort what we have reported versus what we have speculated and all that stuff. That's when I should not get upset. I should just let it roll off my back. But so I get it. And again, we're not infallible. And again, things are fluid and everything. But just to go over it one more time, again, and I know it's highly frustrating for some, but that Notre Dame number 1, North Carolina number 2, that just isn't going to go away until something happens. And Miami has a lot of support. And Virginia and Duke, they are in a position to possibly get it, if things go a certain way. And Florida State and Clemson, football value is spectacular. And Georgia Tech has the market, the place that the Big Ten, Georgia Tech is on the list. Utah, Stanford on the list. Kansas, California. Usually I do not have California anywhere, but I have them on this one. Virginia Tech and North Carolina State, just in case. The Virginia, North Carolina, they got to be on that list. And then the SEC is a lot more simple. It has been true since June 15th, 2024, when we reported that North Carolina and Virginia were the number 1 targets for the SEC. That hasn't stopped. Now, the ability to get North Carolina is incredibly complicated. The ability to get Virginia is more complicated now than it was 6 months ago. And Clemson and Florida State are eager, willing, ready, able. And Miami is going to be there. And North Carolina State and Virginia Tech are going to be there on the list. So that's how we got it. Again, I do appreciate everybody joining us tonight. We've got Christopher Hooter, $5 holla. In my opinion, the SEC wants to add to its contiguous footprint, not load up in states already well represented with flagship schools. They would love to get in North Carolina and Virginia. That is absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Big Ten seems to be flat-footed and frozen in time. Well, the Big Ten did add 4 schools. They are at 18 schools, and I'm gonna let everybody know the Big Ten has been working pretty hard on what they could achieve next. The Big Ten is made out like bandits in their last expansion. All right. I do want to say thanks. We are going to shut it down here. I am running on absolute fumes. I do want to thank Christopher Hooter, Bruce Harris, Heartbreak 25, Eva Badger, and again, Christopher Hooter for your donations. I do very much appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. I want to thank the callers, incredible callers once again. Again, we are gonna if there's breaking news tonight on a formal revision of the bill, we will come on live again. If we do not get that breaking news, I got some more work to do because I do other things. I got other work. And then I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to sleep. And we are going to do a Saturday, Sunday live shows. We're going to cover serious stuff. We're going to have some fun. I think, look, we do have our I Do Declare World Championship. Right? The latest update. The latest update was 106, 107, 108. The Buckeyes go 9-3 or worse. The Buckeyes go 9-3 and make the playoffs. And the Gophers win 3 out of the 4 trophy games. Valinsky. That is our last I do declare. So we are waiting for an I do declare 109. And we'll do that on the next live show and everything else that we do at Peek Around the Corner. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. I want to thank you all. I'm very humbled that you join us on a beautiful Friday. We got storms rolling in, of course, here in Minnesota. So buckle up, brace for impact. PCSA, not dead yet. Holy smokes. Until next time, from all of us at Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family, Golden Gophers.